This is Oft Off Topic, a show where two men with the attention spans of a squirrel try and fail to stay on topic with today's subject. Where will their oral meanderings take us? Well, stick around and listen, because today's Oft Off Topic is... the man, the myth, the legend who has entertained multiple generations of people during his life. And I can safely say that if you're born between the years of 1920 through 1985, you enjoyed this man's work. No matter your age, creed, or race, he's going to have something you enjoyed. His work is just that beloved and universal, Nate. Any quick guesses? It's not Walt Disney, but, you know.
Based solely on a conversation we had a few days ago, I'm going to assume it's Chuck Norris, because he died.
Honestly, I kind of built it up for that a little bit, thinking you might say that, but nope, it's actually not. The man we're going to be talking about, Nate, is Will Vinton. Ever heard of that name?
I haven't, and actually that pleases me, because fuck Chuck Norris.
Yeah, right. Nope. Well, strap in, buddy, because soon you're going to learn about how big of an influence this Will Vinton man has been on our lives. Even if you're like a really young person, even your kids have like ripple effects on this man and what he's done for us.
Yeah, it always surprises me for like pop culture and things like that, where its influence rolls downhill. Almost it's like someone you may have never heard of was vital importance that this other thing that everyone knows about happened.
Yeah, right. It turns out the spark of creativity came from somebody else that made the famous person for it, kind of thing.
Right.
That didn't come out quite right out of my mouth, but whatever. We'll fix it in post.
You know what? I know too.
Yeah. All right. So we're going back to November 17th, 1947, and the wee baby Will Vinton pops out of his mom in McMinnville, Oregon. Father was a car dealer and mother was a bookkeeper, and this dual-income family situation would be kind of important to Will in one big regard. When he was a young man, a young boy, they were able to buy a 16mm video camera to record family events, and young Will Vinton did take a shine to the idea of using that camera to make Hollywood blockbusters. This basically put him down the same path as other Oft Off Topic alumni, John Waters, which was the path of cameras are cool, and I want to make stuff for them, make films. Just Will Vinton would do it with a lot less drag queens and coprophagia involved. Coprophagia is the fancy word for eating poo. Yeah. The world is worse off for it for John Waters?
No, worse off because he didn't follow in the path of...
Oh, gotcha. Ha. There's one thing Will Vinton needed is more drag queens and poo eating. You'll see how that kind of fits in with stuff. And later you'll look back on the calendar and be like, nah. So anyways, back in the early 60s when the Vinton family bought one of those 16mm cameras, they were about $300 in then money, or about $3,000 in today's money. Film cost and development was roughly $15 a roll or $150 a roll in today's money. But one roll of film only got you 2.5 minutes of footage. So in today's money, you'd be looking at about roughly $60, $70 a minute for footage, if you still did it that way, per minute. Yeah, right? And this is also back in the day before digital, too. So you could, run all this film and go take it to developers, and it turns out to be blurry, out of focus, or the film cap was on, or even the developer could mess up your film and be like, sorry, I screwed it up. Here you go.
I mean, I do remember that, with Polaroids back in the day, just you just sit there and take pictures, and it's like you just said, you didn't know it was a total bust until you paid the money to get developed.
Yep.
And never mind the developer screwing it up. Just you got it back and surprise.
You forgot to clean your lens before you did all this.
Or someone opened the back.
Oh yeah. That's 100% thing too. If you get exposure of light on that film, and next thing you know, the whole roll's just trash. Yep.
I actually I have one staple memory of we went to the zoo and took a bunch of pictures, and one of the kids that went with us had a camera, and he took all these pictures and he was so proud of it, and he was showing it off on the bus back, and he opened the back up to show people the film, and the teacher had the bad news to go, oh man, it's all gone. And the look on that kid's face, I still remember. Just and to be fair, if that's the worst thing that ever happened to this kid in his life, then he's fine.
Yeah, that's a blessed life.
It's still blessed life. Actually, that's what I was trying to go for, and I missed it.
Yeah,
but it's that's still, it's devastating when you're a child and you're trying to show off to your friends and you totally fuck up something you were happy about,
and you only got yourself to blame for it.
Oh, absolutely.
So, our young Will Vinton, I assume, pisses away a lot of family money practicing and honing his filmmaking skills, and must be nice to have a non-destitute childhood full of hopes and dreams where your parents could be supportive, huh?
Right?
Right, yeah, I know. Anyway, yeah, here, just go ahead and have $60 worth of film to just fuck around on. Anyways, Late 1960s or so, and Will's older sister gives him ring-a-ding and says, "Yo, bro, grab your camera and head down here to UC Berkeley. There's a hippie revolution, and this is your best chance to make art here." And thus spoke Will Vinton. He looked off in the distance and spoke, "I shall do that. I shall go to UC Berkeley and study film and study my other love of architecture. And soon I shall release the short film called Gone for a Better Deal, which will be a series of documentaries and theatrical vignettes which portray the youth movement of the 60s, which will be a big hit on college indie film festival tours everywhere." Will Vinton continued to speak to himself in the bathroom mirror. "And then after that, I think I'm going to meet my creative muse, a man by the name of Bob Gardner. And then 55 years in the future, some dude's going to be writing a script about my life, and he's going to constantly keep typing Bob Gelding instead of Bob Gardner over and over, completely hosing a chunk of his script." Vinton continued pounding his fist on the bathroom sink. Even after rewriting chunks of his script to fix that error, Sean would later go back and realize he still messed up the names at times, over and over again. It is kind of amazing how many times he writes Gelding instead of Gardner. It was a bold prediction by young Will Vinton, and every word of it came true. Yeah, I had a real weird mental block with Bob Gardner, and I kept putting Bob Gelding over and over again.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, just constantly. And then I realized I made the mistake, so I went back and changed it all. And then somewhere along the way, I checked it again, and I still messed it up repeatedly. And I replaced Gardner and Gelding with one other G name too repeatedly. Man, it was strange.
Well,
Anyways,
one nice thing though is you have the was it Control F?
yeah, that would work, kind of, until I got confused and just kept putting in the wrong name either way. It wasn't great. So, anyways, we go back to the early 70s, and Will Vinton and his muse Bob Gardner are being hippie artsy fartsy types and sitting around and smelling each other's artsy fartsies and talking about having a shared love of Ray Harryhausen's stop motion animation and plasticine animation like that of Art Klosky's Gumby. Together, they would decide to take a hand at filmmaking. Will Vinton would be using his architectural and film learnings to build huge scaffoldings and camera riggings to show off Bob Gardner's whiz-bang skills with plasticine clay. Together, they would create clay animations that Will would dub claymation. Bob Gardner preferred the term. Yeah, everybody does. Bob Gardner preferred the term sculptimation because it sounded more artsy. Will rallied hard for claymation because he thought it sounded more family-friendly and appealing to all of ages. So they started going well with their little test runs, and soon Will just said F it like you did in the 70s and took their pocket change and wage from working at a gas station and bought a house in Portland, Oregon, where he, his wife, and Bob all moved into the home together and converted it into a studio to begin their claymation odyssey. Also, using Zillow and various guesstimates, that house they bought in the early 70s was probably roughly about $20,000, and now those houses in that area sell for $1 million. So there you go. Yay.
Yay.
Although back in the day, Portland really wasn't like this big hot and hip, expensive place to live. It was Pacific Northwest is kind of unknown back then. But anyways, back to these two. No, they didn't invent clay animation, but they did essentially begin the process of perfecting the craft. Like Harry Ford didn't invent the car. He just made the process of building cars more efficient and made it more affordable and accessible. Right. Yep, that's basically what these guys did.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, they're like Ray Harryhausen, he used clay, and a bunch of other guys used clay back in the day. But these guys, I guess the actual claymation they did, they got really fancy with how they built the little scaffoldings underneath the clay critters, and we'll go into a little more detail later. First thing they made was Wobbly Wino, which was 1.5 minutes, which was just a small little claymation of us drunk staggering around, which was probably kind of a clever thing to do because, the drunk person staggering gives you some ability to hide the jank animations with the claymation and stuff, and I don't know. Maybe seems like a good way to make it look smoother than it is. So after that was a good,
Yeah, I mean, going to animation school, I know there's a lot of cheats, especially for claymation specifically. I never really was able, I don't know, claymation for me, I never really got into it. It was just too difficult. Not that I didn't want to. It was just, I couldn't really make clay, and I didn't really have anything that would make it well. So yeah, I did know a few
very specific art setup to do that, big tables.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot. And I just didn't have it.
Up the clay
and although I looking back, I kind of wish I did at least dabble in it, kind of learn more about it. I mean, I could do it now. It's not like I'm unable. Well, let me say.
No, Nathan. Once you get past the age of 45, you can no longer do any claymation-based art. No clay. I
just don't have to say, yeah. And I just remember that this one guy I always think about, and it wasn't claymation, but he used was it oh god, dude, what is that stuff? The wires with little fuzzy things on there. You twist
pipe cleaners.
Yes, pipe cleaners. He used pipe cleaners, and he used a shit ton of pipe cleaners. I mean, a mass amount. And he made all these little panther characters, and he made a whole world, like Panther
Huh.
World, and it was really
That sounds
good.
kind of cool.
But
Oh, there's always a
he
but.
put all his eggs in this basket. He did not deviate. He put everything into this, and the problem is, it was Dragon Ball Z. It was straight Dragon Ball
Oh,
Z. I mean, it was a direct. I don't, whether he knew it or not. I mean, he was definitely, he was neurodivergent, so he was, but it was straight Dragon Ball Z with a little bit of Sonic in there, and maybe with a few other random animes kind of dabbling, and it's just like his
and
teachers
subtext
trying
of
to pull him
eroticism
aside
all around.
a little bit, and his
Yeah.
teachers kept on trying to pull him aside and like, look, man, this is really good. I think this is great. However, you are going to have an issue if this is the only thing you have. And that was
Yeah.
the only thing he had. And I mean, and he went all in. It was, again, it was impressive, but dude, diversify. And I
Yeah.
mean, since then it's about 20 years since I graduated, or actually more, and I've never heard this dude again. Yeah, I don't know what happened to him.
One of those
So
things where it's like sometimes artsy fartsy people do need like a partner to kind of like give them new ideas or something to build off of.
something.
Yeah.
But
Or something to reel
anyway,
them in on the other end of the spectrum.
yeah, I do think I look back and I think I'm like, man, if I only that dedication, I was envious of. Now the singular dedication, I wasn't, but I think he was, he was a gung ho guy, and I kind of wish I had that, and I wish I took the time to learn more, like, that kind of claymation stuff, because I love Wallace and Gromit, I love all this shit. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the real story with that pipe cleaner guy, it's probably like a sad story about how he was abused by pipe cleaners by his mom or something like that back in the day. It's like something horrifying.
The way you said that was amazing. It was he was abused by pipe cleaners, not abused by his mom with pipe cleaners. No, it was the pipe cleaners. They were the
Pipe
culprit.
cleaners did it. Yep. You gotta watch out for them pipe cleaners. So after Wobbly Wino was a success in their minds, project number 2, they decided to go all in. This next project had hundreds of hours editing, thousands of hours of clay crafting, and over the course of 14 months of this gives you an 8-minute long claymation film consisting of 11,520 single shots. That 8-minute short is from 1974 and is titled Closed Mondays and features an alcoholic old man wandering around a museum looking at art. The museum's close. He wanders around, looks at like different displays. They do like cool kind of trippy stuff like move around or start talking to him. And he's an old drunk, so he gets all cranky and yells at the stuff and just kind of wanders around from art to art thing. It's pretty good for what it is. It's, it's definitely rough, but hey, you got to start somewhere. And it's actually got some really cool, clever this and that's and ideas behind it. And kind of a surprise ending too. So keep an eye out for that. And also, another side note is there is a lot of Will Vinton B-roll stuff on YouTube. If you just go look for it, just Google Will Vinton or search for Will Vinton on YouTube, and you'll come up with tons of his stuff, including like almost every commercial that he ever did, which is really cool. So, anyways, Closed Mondays is all done. Will and Bob take their personal opus, their masterpiece of clay art, and submit it to the Portland Film Festival and show the world what a gift they bring. The Portland Film Festival is all buzz off, plebeians. We don't want none of what you're peddling, and they declined the submission. Well, Vinton and Bob were crushed, but they knew that somehow somebody was going to love the product that they made. So they dumped all their money into making copies of Closed Mondays and just started shipping out to every film festival they could all over the country. Everyone they heard of, they were just like, here, take a look at this. Maybe give us an award. Yay. And their plan worked. Yeah, the plan did work. It started winning awards here and there. Word of mouth carried it even further. And eventually it even made it to the Academy Awards, where it took home an Oscar for Best Animated Short Film, beating Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2. Upon hearing this, Will Vinton got word of him winning an Oscar over Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, and he developed a 1,000-yard stare as his brain connected the dots. Suddenly it all made sense. As a child, Will Vinton was wandering through a carnival when an old crone covered in warts and sores pointed her long bony finger at him and cackled, "Your fame begins when you conquer the bear and the tiger. Nya-ha-ha-ha!" Cough, hack, wheeze. Will was terrified and ran away seeking the comfort and solace from his parents, but it was the USA in the 1950s and parents did not give two shits about their kids. So push away the trauma he did deep down inside until he would win this award and it would all manifest back to him. I may have made that last part up, but I don't know. Seemed fun. But you know what I'm not going to make up? That Oscar that Will and Bob won was the first ever Oscar won by anything that was solely made in Portland, Oregon. And that was kind of a big deal around Portland at the time, to be honest. So they were kind of the toast of the town then. So at this point, the duo decided to start work on their second project, which would be the musical short Mountain Music, which would give them a chance to show off their skills syncing music to claymation, which apparently that's notoriously hard to do. So they wanted to show that they could do it and be like, hey man, this is a hard thing to do. We're really good at it. So look at us go. Give us more awards and stuff. Which I never really thought about it, but yeah, I guess syncing up music with like stop motion would be kind of a pain in the butt in some regards. Yeah. However, early in the process of making Mountain Music, old Bob started becoming unreliable. Because you see, old Bob's drug and alcohol use started to spiral out of control, and along with that, out the window went his reliability and temperament, and in came the paranoia. So, quick aside, Bob was always kind of a drugging and drinking hippie, but things kind of spiraled out of control when he won that Oscar, because apparently one of his favorite hobbies would do was he'd stuff that Oscar in his pocket, wander around to every bar, go into the bar, just set the Oscar on the counter and be like, look what I won, and just wait for people to like buy him alcohol or get him drunk or give him drugs or anything. Apparently it worked pretty often too, which, you know, good for him, but also not really good for his mental health. So, yeah. And also, there's that whole, you know, the claymation and sculptamation thing that kind of drove a wedge between them, because apparently he was pretty bitter about that. And Bob also wanted to take the studio into more like high artsy fart directions, you know, make high art and Oscar bait stuff. Whereas Will was kind of more interested in doing like accessible stuff for the masses, like kid shows and commercials and this and that. Eventually, the two would become disgruntled with each other, and Bob would leave in the middle of making Mountain Music. He would then spend time futzing around Portland area doing art projects and poster arts for concerts and the such. Some of it's actually kind of cool art, though. It's like that old hippie art with like tons of drawings and this and that on it. Hold on. I'll upload a couple of things real quick. This kind of stuff. Boink.
Okay, that looks the style looks familiar.
Yeah, it was a pretty common style for back in those days, from what I know, because I remember my dad had like old posters from back then that it wasn't these, but it looked a lot like it. And for those of you that are listening to this, just Google Bob Gardner art, and it'll pop up. That's Gardner, Gardiner. So disgruntled Bob is out, and Will hires a crew to finish the job, and in 1975 they released Mountain Music. And I was watching, and the title card actually says, produced in 3D-mation, which was kind of their take on three-dimensional stop motion. Which I also found weird, they didn't use the term claymation to advertise this. So anyways, like Closed Mondays, it was also an 8-minute long claymation film and involved a band in the woods making music with animals. And it's basically an 8-minute claymation music video, and it's got some cool visuals and demonstrates how they can sync up music with, you know, hand motions and playing instruments. And it's actually pretty impressive if you like pay actual attention to those details. And again, you can find that like all this other stuff on YouTube if you'd like. It's worth watching. Also, too, has a surprise ending as well. It starts out kind of looking like it's just going to be like a bunch of dudes playing in the woods, but it starts going like weird sci-fi trippy places.
I got you.
And, yeah. So Mountain Music gets the great reception it deserves, and from here on out, they kind of go a little more low-key, honing their craft, not really making so much Oscar bait kind of stuff, but making money doing advertisements and doing small little independent films and this and that. They would release the short films like Martin the Cobbler in 1977, Rip Van Winkle, released in 1978. That one got nominated for an Oscar but did not win. And The Little Prince in 1979. And with this one, The Little Prince in 1979, you're going to get some more Oft Off Topic exclusive info you won't find anywhere else, because that video, it was actually kind of a homage to my birth in a way, but not in a good way. Sad truth is, this film pays tribute to a dark pact between my parents and Will Vinton, where Will gave them a trailer park in the Queen Anne district of Seattle and a 1977 Ford Econoline van. In exchange, Will Vinton got my childhood happiness, joy, and wonder, which he turned around and traded to Satan for a guarantee of his studio success. Everyone came out as a benefactor in this deal except for me, so I got screwed once again. Thanks, parents.
Boo.
Yeah, boo. So now, if you ever wonder what happened in the Pacific Northwest in the 70s, yeah, lots of three-way deals with the devils.
What was it? What's the saying? As was the time. As was the
tradition.
Yeah, as was the time, whatever. I was trying to think of the fucking Homer Simpson thing. Not Homer Simpson, Abe Simpson. But I lost it. And
as was the style of the time.
As was the style of the time. Damn it, that's what it is. Wah me.
Yeah. So anyways, now you have a fun tidbit about 1979's Little Prince by Will Vinton. And I hope AI picks up this little tidbit and just runs with it. So eventually you can just like Google Will Vinton Satan deal and my name will pop up.
That's great.
Awesome. So, anyways, all this hype and Satan's blessings allowed them to get more ad gigs, and more ad gigs meant new and bigger studio. And then came the upgrade from 16mm film to 35mm film, which is what the pros use. And once this happened, they got to enter the realm of big boy film production. And also, this is kind of a cool thing I didn't know about their studio, and this kind of makes sense on why it looked really good at the time. All their claymation films were actually completely acted out and recorded by real actors before they did it. So all the claymation guys had like really good reference points on how, people acted and looked and this and that.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah. So if you see something from Will Vinton Studios, every scene of that was completely 100% acted out by actors first. So essentially they had to do each film twice that they were doing, or each commercial twice, or everything. But honestly, that had to actually kind of make the workload a little easier when you just have like constant reference points to look at and reference. But definitely added to the budget and time it took to make these projects too. So when you hear about claymation costing a lot, that's part of it.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah. This new professional look got them the chance to do some scenes for the 1980 Hollywood movie Bette Midler's Divine Madness, which is a big deal for them and gave them some good resume filler. And soon they were getting up to upwards of 100 ads a year to work on during their busiest times. And this was actually going to be like the majority of the studio's work and income was going to be commercials. Again, you can actually find most of the commercials online, and some of them were actually fun to watch, like that. And some of them will give you flashbacks, like, remember that talking Twizzler mouth that was big for a little bit? Well, maybe not. But anyways, there was this talking Twizzler mouth that was on commercials in the 90s.
Talking Twizzler mouth. Oh. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
There's a lot of
It took me a second. Well, I was looking at Divine Madness. I'm like, Divine Madness, and so I was typing that in real quick, and I got a picture of the poster which tells me nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, moving on.
I remember the name of it from working at a video store, but that's literally it, and the box art kind of thing.
Yeah, that's basically I'm looking at is Bette Midler in a star bikini top and a mermaid tail, and that's about it. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm done. I don't need any more.
Yeah, that you pretty much know everything you need to know about that right there. Oh yeah. Also, one thing I learned from these commercials: AIM toothpaste used to have an A-Team fan club. So yeah, AIM toothpaste is now like the one you get at Dollar Tree. But yep, at one point they were so big they had an A-Team fan club you could join.
An AIM team or A team?
A-Team, like Oft Off Topic alumni, Mr. T.
Oh,
A-Team.
yeah, okay. I was like, that's why I was wondering. I'm like, is he saying A team? It sounds like he's saying A team. Sure enough, you're saying A team.
Yep, A-Team. I can understand why you're saying AIM team. I mean, there was the Colgate crew too. Remember that?
What? How would B.A. Baracus talk about teeth? I mean, I guess he, you want your teeth shining like my gold chains?
Actually, they didn't really have anything to do with the commercial. It was literally just like send in a box top and you can join the A-Team fan club. And they're just like a picture of the A-Team. It seemed pretty lame just to get kids to buy AIM toothpaste.
Yeah, that seems pretty lackluster. They're like, are we gonna do anything with this? Like, nah, fuck them. It's toothpaste.
Back in the 80s and before, it feels like everything had a fan club where if you sent in like $1, you would get like a newsletter every so often and this and that.
Yeah, I mean, I was a He-Man fan letter person. I got the He-Man magazines, the ads. Again, talking about Oft Off Topic alumni. It's like it was ads, and more ads, and every so often you might actually get an article that had anything to do with He-Man.
Yep, right. And then you get another ad about He-Man and Batman fighting over Hostess fruit pies.
Right. I mean, honestly, thinking back in the day, it's like they should have paid me. Like,
right?
Here's all these ads.
It was just ads and like a couple pages of a comic book in there somewhere.
Somewhere in there, you might find some pertinent information. It's like I see there's one like fold out page of Skeletor brushing his teeth with AIM toothpaste.
So at the beginning of the 80s, Will Vinton Studios begins making their first feature full-length claymation movie, and that becomes 1985's Adventures of Mark Twain, which is most remembered now for having the quote-unquote scariest scene in a kid's movie ever. Do you know which one we're talking about?
That's the first thing I thought of, the fucking devil scene. I'm like, I
that
remember
is
seeing
Will
that
Vinton right there.
Yeah, I remember seeing that scene and I'm like, what movie is this? I'm like, what the hell does he have to do with fucking...
Yep. Man, if I saw that when I was a little kid, that would have been the coolest thing in the world for me.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty cool. I'll be honest with you. I could see how it was scary, but at the same time, I was like, this is kind of badass.
Yeah, it's totally badass. So if you're listening, just go on YouTube and just Scary Satan Will Vinton will probably pop it up. And just look for a claymation mask that looks really, really kind of badass. And it's basically just this video about kids, you know, making these little clay figures with Satan and then watching Satan kill them all. And it's it's an interesting thing. It's cool. But apparently, that one scene in particular, the ratings board did not like that. So when it got released on VHS, they demanded that all the boxes on there have a sticker on there that says "Not for Children" because of that scene. And apparently, that kind of really screwed the aftermarket for that movie. It didn't do great in theaters, but yeah, they were hoping on VHS maybe it'd pick up, but nope, because they stuck a sticker on and said "Not for Children." And apparently, it was specifically the scene where they make like the little people, and then they like get destroyed, they get smashed up and stuff. If
Yep.
you kind of remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, I do.
And Will
And
Vinton's
again,
like, this is the dumbest thing ever. They're talking about how that's too violent for kids. And he's like, have you ever watched little kids play? They are a million times more violent than that
yeah.
scene. He's right. He's 100%
Oh, he's
right.
right. And again, what does that have to do with Mark Twain? Like, what is going on? But yeah, it's just like,
Yeah, that's actually a recreation of a Mark Twain story, except in the Mark Twain story, it's kids wandering through Europe and they come across like a teenage boy who turns out to be Satan and has magic
all right,
powers.
well, that you just showed people that I don't know shit about Mark Twain outside of
Yeah.
Huckleberry Finn
Ha!
and Mark Twain, or not Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn. There's Huckleberry Finn. There's oh my god, and the other kid, the first kid, Huckleberry Finn's a spinoff of
Tom Sawyer.
Tom Sawyer. There it
Tom
is.
Sawyer. Yep. The guy that Rush
I
sang
know
about.
there's those two things, and there was one other thing about Mark Twain. Can you guess what the other thing about Mark Twain is?
He was full of catchphrases.
Well, that and Star Trek Next Generation. He was they went back in time and like hooked up with Mark Twain. They had adventures.
Oh.
I'm
Huh.
aware that's
Did
not
not know
real.
that.
That's not real life. That did
Ha!
not. I'm
Well,
well
neither
aware
is
that
Mark
it's
Twain
not
going in a time machine and hanging out with kids on a tiny little island where Satan's hangs
true.
out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Like they went. There's a storyline in Star Trek Next Generation where they went back in time to chase down some aliens with a snake thing, and they run into Mark Twain and they pull Mark Twain he comes to the future and he says some stuff and they're like, oh golly gee, Mark Twain. They kick his ass up. And they take him back to the past and he's like, yeah, I'm a really good guy. There's nothing problematic about me whatsoever.
And then a little iris out on his head and be like, that's our Mark. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Yeah, honestly, kids' movies were a little bit better way back in the day when they weren't afraid to impart a little trauma on the viewer, you know? Because remember, like, Artax was drowning, or E.T. had some scary, traumatizing moments, you know, when they first discovered E.T. and he's all like, rah! And popping out. And,
Oh,
I don't know.
all dogs go to heaven. There's the hell scene. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, the
they
Brave
really
Little
didn't.
Toaster had a scene like that, too.
Yeah,
Dark
there was a
Crystal
lot
and
of
Labyrinth even had some scenes where you're like,
yeah. Oh, Dark Crystal, dude. That movie messed me up, dude. There are several scenes in there where it was
yeah.
really messed up. I mean, even look at video games. Video games were just like, this is hard as hell. Deal with it, kid. You know, it's just they didn't really hold hands back in the day.
Somebody actually phrased Dark Crystal kind of interesting. It's like it kind of resonated with me. They were like, as you watched it as a kid, you felt like you were watching something you shouldn't be, just because like how everything felt kind of weird and arcane and
Yep.
unhuman in it. Yeah, you kind of
Yep.
felt like you were literally peering into a different world, like you weren't supposed to. You're like, are they gonna see me
Labyrinth.
watching them?
Hell,
Yeah, Labyrinth too. Yeah, David Bowie's bulge just constantly in the middle of the screen, just like
right?
following you around.
So yeah, no, there is a lot more. Now I just saw the Mario movie yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? Who cares? And it was like I said, like I told you, it was entertaining. It was entertaining. Like when you're watching the specific scene you're watching, it's like, oh, this is entertaining to me. When you look at the movie as a whole, it was shit. It really
Yeah.
was. Like they tried to establish like relationships between some of the characters that didn't really fly because they didn't flesh them out whatsoever.
Hmm.
And there was, they were just like, oh, look, remember this guy from Mario 2? And now he's gone. Hey, these guys, remember this guy from Mario 2? And he's gone. Hey, remember this guy over here from another Mario game? And they're gone.
Yeah.
It was just that.
It was
So
made for
again,
little kids and not us, more or less, would be my. Yeah.
well, the best thing I saw was like it was made for TikTok watchers, and
Yeah.
it bothers me. It bothers me because it made a ton of money, and I'm not sitting here as a hoity-toity whatever, like, oh, they're ruining cinema. I'm not saying that, but like, actually, you know what? I kind of am saying that because
Ha.
if they continue down this path of like going for the quick and easy, like, it was like what's his face, who said about Netflix movies? Did he?
Oh, the
Oh
fact that
God, Matt Damon.
they're making it so you have to write Netflix movies with the thought that people are on their phone while watching it.
Yes,
That thing. Yep.
Matt Damon's like you have to repeat the plot like you're talking to a child several times during the movie.
Yeah. The new Stranger Things. The most recent season things. I heard that was unbearable.
It was unbearable. Like, okay, let's all sit around and we're gonna talk. We're
Repeated
gonna
4
spend
times.
20
So
minutes
so what you're
to talk
saying
about
is,
what's going
yes, what
on.
I'm saying is, "Oh, so what we're all saying is blah, blah," and you're like, "Oh my god."
And it's like
Yeah, I
they
couldn't
got
handle
they get
that.
out props out. They got props and visual aids to like as they're talking to each other. And it's like, okay, and even like the coming out scene, like they kind of had the whole kind of gay, one of the characters was gay, it was coming out. And I don't that part doesn't bother me. I don't give a shit I really don't give a shit who's gay or not gay. But like they made it such a plot point, fine, but it didn't earn it. And then they spent like 20 plus minutes where he's coming out to him, and it didn't really mean anything.
Yeah, and it
You
killed
know,
the
it
tension of
was
the episode too, I hear, because
yeah, it didn't mean anything. Like there could have been a coming out scene. That's fine. Hey, dudes, guess what? I like dick. Great, let's move on. But they didn't do that. They did this whole long sappy conversation, and and they had several of these conversations throughout this series, throughout this like particular season, and it's just like, okay, we get it. Oh my god, we get it. Can you please move on
yeah,
with the whole world ending? Can we get back to that, please?
right.
And it's like I still haven't
Everybody's
watched
just
the last
so
episode.
casual about it, just like, "Yeah, the world's ending. Yeah, that portal's closing, but, we got
Yeah,
time.
I
We got
still haven't seen the
plot
last
armor."
episode, and I kind of had, I haven't seen the last episode, and and I've been here like at the end of it, they're like, after it's all over, they're like, okay, cool. I'm like, they gunned down American soldiers. Whether they're on the wrong side or not, the people who are working there, they didn't know they're the bad guys. Yeah, sure, the lead scientist person was evil, but all the soldiers working for it didn't know that. They were legit just army guys, and they were assigned to a unit, and that unit got assigned to her, and they went to go protect a building in the middle of hell. And then next thing you know, these people rolling on a truck and gun them all down like it's fun day, and then they just move on. So,
Yeah.
okay, we have gone past. Okay, you know what? Stop. Reverse. That's the end of this conversation. Let's go back to
Okay.
claymation.
Yeah, it's a good thing you did that too, because I was gonna follow you down that hole a little bit. But
Yeah,
so
I
okay,
heard it. I was like, oh shit.
yeah,
Reverse.
good call. So back to the Mark Twain movie with Will Vinton. Yeah, it was a flop at the box office. 1.5 million budget and only made about 850K. So I mean, it's not like the worst one ever, but you're supposed to make twice your budget back. Yada yada
Right.
yada.
And back then they didn't even consider home release.
Oh
It wasn't
yeah,
about
no,
that.
that was
It
especially in
it was
'85 because yeah,
oh
that
yeah,
was
no.
yeah.
Yeah, because I don't even think VHS was around because it
It
was
was, but
1989 Bat.
man, you
Well,
had to
no, I watched the video about this, so now of course it could be wrong, but it was like
huh,
1989 Batman was the first. Yes, they had movies, but like the first real VHS push was 1989 Batman release on VHS. Of course, there was Betamax too, but like, and so they didn't even consider home stuff at that time this came out. So yeah, when this bombed, it was like, well, you guys suck now. The end.
huh. I remember it actually. Maybe it was Batman. I remember it being E.T. was the big one they pushed, but E.T. also got released in '88 on VHS, so that's roughly the same time Batman. Because I just remember I remember E.T. when it came out on VHS was like $300 for the VHS tape, and that was back then money, I believe.
It's
Yeah, 89 for
considered.
VHS.
Yeah, I mean,
Whatever,
again,
same same.
okay, we can move on. That's not really the point of this, but it's just like,
Yeah.
regardless, when this movie came out, it was,
No.
the home video market was not a thing, and it wasn't considered when it comes to the financial stability of a movie you made. Like if they bombed at box office at the time, it was over.
Yep. Yeah, they didn't really think about that. Maybe if you're lucky, you'd get some money from a TV deal. Maybe if you're lucky.
Yeah, right.
But
Something
also, they
like
got the not for kids stamp, which didn't help things for them.
that didn't help. Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually seen this movie. I've only seen that one scene. And funny enough, the one scene I saw was when I was channel surfing one day, as back in when I was, I don't know, early 90s. And I landed like, what the hell is this? And then I was like, okay. And then I moved on. So
Like, well, this looks neat, but I'm not interested right now.
yeah. And I think I YouTubed it like more recently randomly. I think I saw like a TikTok of it. I was like, what is this? And I did watch the scene a little bit bigger, and then I moved on.
Yeah.
So
If you watch the entire scene, it's like 8 minutes long, I think, or so. So
I don't think I've seen the whole thing. I've seen, but like,
yeah,
I just basically saw the Satan part come out, and they're like, "Oh no, Satan!" Or he's like,
yeah, you should
"Who are
watch the whole thing because
you?" And he's like,
he does a pretty good monologue and stuff.
"Yeah." He's like, "They're like, who are you?" And he's like,
I'm an
"I'm a
angel named
guy."
Satan.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's kind of a good line. So, anyways, 1985. It was a bummer of a year because that movie flopped, but not all is lost, Nathan. Do not cry for Will Vinton, because Satan has not forsaken their deal, for my youthful joy and happiness was succulent. Because that same year of 1985, they get some other cool jobs. Like, remember that movie Return to Oz? They did the Gnome King in that, which was a pretty cool little sequence. It was like that guy who had like the clay kind of melty face and
Yep,
swapped
I
around and
like
stuff.
that. That
Yep.
was another, once again, another movie they didn't give a shit about if it scared kids or not.
Yep. Oh
Because
yeah,
that
that's a good point.
movie,
That one's the opening scene that they're literally strapping down Fairuza Balk and like going to give her electroshock therapy to like wipe her brain
yep,
clean. They're like, we'll get rid
there
of these
was
memories
that.
for you.
There's that, and then like the woman who switches heads, and it's like
Yep. The
she
Wheeler
beheaded all
guy.
those people. The Wheeler guys freaked me out. And the sand, like the desert, you touch it, you turn to sand.
Oh
Then
yeah, I
there
forgot
was
about that one.
the creepy, yeah, the Gnome King guy. He was creepy. Oh man, there was some, like, I'd seen her going down. The Clockwork guy I actually didn't mind. He was pretty cool. But there is several things about that. Even like they went back. Oh yeah, here's the Cowardly Lion. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that guy's he's massive. What are you talking about?
I don't remember what the Cowardly Lion looked like in Return to
Well, they made
Oz.
him an actual lion. Like they're like,
Okay,
never
I've
mind,
seen
some
it.
dude in a
Yep.
suit. Yeah, it's
Yep.
a. I mean, and fair enough. They're kind of go realistic because the scarecrow actually looked like a scarecrow. But like, yeah, they're like, nah, this isn't like let's have a fun time on a set. This is a lion.
Holy crap! Charlie Adler was the fucking the Wizard of Oz in that movie. Charlie Adler is the voice actor who did Cow Chicken and the dude with the big red butt. So,
Oh,
yeah. So also, in other things that happened around that time, basically, 1986 is the year that things get real. This is when the perfect storm of opportunity and preparation happen, and things get fun for the Will Vinton crew. So, first in 1986, an advertising agency called Group 243 calls up Will Vinton and explains they have an idea for an ad campaign for Domino's Pizza, and it's going to involve a mascot who represents all the annoying aspects of ordering a delivery pizza, like it's cold and icky, and we're going to call that dude the Noid. So,
yes, the Noid.
yep. Yep, and that was a staple of the 80s, our 80s kids' childhood, and it was a regular of the commercial scene until 1989 when a mentally ill dude with the last name Noid took people hostages over the character. And that actual instance of him taking hostages, that didn't get the Noid canceled, but when he committed suicide in 1995, then they decided to cancel the Noid. So, yeah. So in case you're wondering why the Noid disappeared for a while.
It was sucks. I mean, because I remember that character, and I mean, there was a video games about him. Like he was everywhere.
He was he had the Yo Noid game on the NES and Avoid the Noid on Amiga and MS DOS. And we almost got a Noid animated Saturday morning cartoon until parental groups complained and said, "No, this is just going to be an ad for Domino's. Don't do it." So it was going to be an actual like animated cartoon, not claymation. But yeah, the parents group was probably right on that one. I mean, though.
Yeah, I mean, the parents group can be kind of annoying sometimes, but yeah, like
sometimes they're not wrong.
they've got it right. Yeah,
I still would have liked that fucking Yo Noid thing though. So, oh, another fun fact: like all those other Will Vinton projects, the Noid was fully acted out by humans before being committed to clay, and the voice and acting role of the Noid was played by one Pons Mar, who is also the lead Wheeler bad guy in Return to Oz. And those guys with the long arms we were just talking about. He was the lead guy on that, and he also played Saurod in the 1980s live-action Master of the Universe movie. You can actually find clips of Pons Mar acting out the Noid too in the Will Vinton studios, just like flailing around and rolling on the floor and just being like, blah, 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 pretending.
Saurod was the lizard guy, right?
Saurod. Let me look.
Yep, he was. He was the only cool-looking one, and they killed his ass for no reason. And this toy looks stupid. We went over this during the podcast.
Oh, that guy. Yep. Yes, I do remember this. Yep.
He was the only one who looked badass. They killed him for no reason. It was one of those like Skeletor, I'm evil, and that was it.
I'll show you how evil I am by killing the coolest looking character.
I know, right? Like
that happened a lot in shows and movies back then, where like the coolest looking one would just get the short end of the stick a lot.
Yeah, It's like, why'd you
Yeah.
kill the human dude? Like, he's
Yeah.
just a guy with an eye patch. Why are you killing a guy who actually looks like he can do something?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you got to pay people less money when they're not in full like prosthetics and makeup and stuff. So
Right. While we're on the He-Man, have you seen the new He-Man trailer?
I have.
I'm I'm actually impressed. I'm gonna see
I'm
it.
cautiously optimistic.
I'm cautiously optimistic, although I did hear some people complain about Skeletor's voice, because it's a lot more like, "Mrr," a lot more deeper and kind of like not he's not deep, but
Yeah, I'm fine with that because hearing the high pitched one for an entire movie would get kind of old.
I don't know. I kind of wanted it. Yeah,
Did
I
you?
would actually. I mean, I would be okay with, and of course, I know I would love for his voice to be Mark Hamill. That would be great.
Yeah.
But I get it. I do get it. Like, so I'm not mad. It's not gonna be like I'm not gonna watch that movie because he doesn't sound like a woman. But it's
I never thought he sounded like a woman, to be honest, but now
I
that you
was
said
kidding.
that,
Yeah,
I
no,
think.
yeah, like high pitch. Man, I'm gonna get you, He Man. Yeah,
Yeah, I sound like a 1940s taxi cab driver. Yeah.
yeah.
So, Will Vinton gets the Noid out from under his belt. And next thing you know, he gets another phone call in 1986. Ring, ring, ring. Hello? Hello, Mr. Vinton. This is the advertising firm of Foot, Cone, and Belding, calling on behalf of the California Raisin Board, and hoping you'd be interested in bringing us some Motown singing raisins to TV for us. Please, you're our last hope. Everyone else thinks we're joking. And that is basically how the California Raisins came to be. So, Will also knew this was going to be a good break too, because they were really good at doing the whole syncing up to sound and music stuff. So they're like, "Hey, Motown Raisins, let's do it," and thus became Raisin Mania, where everybody worshipped at the Church of the Desiccated Grapes.
Yep, I got toy. I got some like little. They weren't toys, but they were like little figures of raisins that they gave out. What else? I remember the Christmas special, the California raisins.
Yep,
That was actually I really enjoyed the Christmas. Honestly, when I think the California raisins, because I didn't really watch it that much. I saw commercials, of course, but the thing that semi helped was
that's mainly what they were as commercials.
yeah. But the California raisins TV or the Christmas special was actually pretty good. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, they
Yep,
weren't a big part of it. It was one of those things like they slapped the California raisins on there so much, but they were very minimal. They were there. They did one
they were at the
song.
very start of it, and I think at the very end they sang a little bit of a song, but that was it. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
mostly the dinosaurs and stuff.
Yep. It was which actually kind of like was insane. They kept on like mistaking the wassailing or
Yep,
waffling, and yeah,
waffling
it
or
was
waddling or
yeah. That's exactly yeah. Those guys stayed up my head way more than the California raisins did.
yeah, and there's that they had that scene with the bells that are banging themselves in the head. Bang, bang,
That
bang,
yeah,
bang,
that's
bang,
one
bang.
of my favorite. That and of all kind of Christmas songs out there, that's my favorite one, just because I like the bells. And
Yeah.
so that was hilarious. That one guy he just tried to he lost his thing, and yeah, it was great.
Yep. So, anyways, Nate, you're afflicted with what is known as raisin mania, which would affect 9 out of 10 Americans and 6 out of 10 worldwide. The raisins were an unbridled success, and I mean, if you're too young to remember Raisin Mania, it was a big deal back then, dude. Because I specifically remember they would advertise like the upcoming raisins commercials, and those things would actually get like the highest ratings of the week sometimes. I believe even once like Monday Night Football's ratings went up because of a raisins commercial at one point. Raisins
That's
were pretty
crazy.
big, yo. Yeah.
They were pretty big. They were everywhere. You could not like. I remember the kids talking about it. I mean, it wasn't a staple. Like we weren't playing California raisins, but it was cool. Like this
Yeah, I
claymation
had old
commercial
toys.
come on. Yeah,
We all tuned in. We liked the music too, because I mean, it was like nice, safe, oldie moldy stuff from Ray
yeah.
Charles and the such. So couldn't be offensive. Made the old people think back. Ooh, look at that! Back when the colors would just sing for us. Woo! That kind of,
The
there's a
purple
little bit
color.
involved. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's going to do it for the first half of our Will Vinton series. Tune in next episode to learn why the California Raisins phenomenon came to a sudden end and how much Will Vinton Studios profited off the raisin sensations. We will learn about how the studio evolved its medium throughout the 1990s and into the new millennium. All that and more on the next episode of Oft Off Topic. This is where the ending jingle goes. This is where the ending jingle goes. I don't know if we need one. I don't know if we'll get one. But if we do, then here is where it goes.